This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
In today's session, we are going to discuss about Lightning framework. So we have to understand why should we go for Lightning framework and what are the various benefits that we have the Salesforce Lightning and what is the traditional execution life cycle of Salesforce application by using Visualforce, that means classic, and how the architecture has been changed to make the application faster, to provide more secure, to provide effective and rich look and feel for the application user interfaces. And what are the various benefits that we have upon using this Lightning? We'll see practically today. Now, so the today's agenda is we are going to discuss about the introduction to the Lightning first. First of all, we have to understand what exactly the Lightning framework and how it is different from Classic. So as part of this Salesforce Classic, how the applications will be getting executed and what is the architecture followed by the Visualforce, and what are the drawbacks in that existing traditional architecture of Classic, and how can we make the application performance faster and to provide more security for our data and the components and to provide some attractive look and feels. How can we use this Lightning? And what are the various features that we have as part of this Lightning? What are the various parts and components to be get involved as part of this Lightning? We'll see. And then we'll see the benefits of using Lightning. And we'll see what are the various places that we can use these Lightning components. Like in our application development, what are the various places that we can use these Lightning components? Okay, we'll see practically as well. Now, so that already we know that Salesforce has introduced the Salesforce CRM in the year 2000. Salesforce has introduced the Salesforce CRM in the year 2000. Now, so during the time, the complete user interfaces has been purely built upon S controls. Okay, S controls. So S controls is purely built upon JavaScript and the Ajax library. They have implemented each and every feature, each and every component which we are using as part of Classic. In the year 2000, in the initial dates in the 2000, they have implemented the complete user interfaces by using S controls. That means during 1999 to 2007. During this period of time, whatever the user interfaces they have built, all the user interfaces are purely implemented on S controls. So basically, S controls is purely an outdated technology. It's outdated technology here. Because as part of S controls, it is purely built upon Ajax libraries. That means Ajax toolkit. Ajax in the sense asynchronous JavaScript and XML. In order to make some asynchronous calls, that means automated calls in the background, they have implemented Ajax toolkit. Through this Ajax toolkit, they have implemented all the user interfaces, okay, by using this S controls feature. But if you want to implement your own component, if you want to implement your own user interface by using this S controls, we have to incorporate so many lines of code. We have to write some huge lines of code by using HTML and JavaScript and by using the scripting libraries. Okay, by using scripting libraries. With the help of those scripting libraries, we have to write some huge lines of code in order to build the application, or it may be a small component also. So which will take some more time, which needs some technical skills people, so which will be taking some more time for the application development and which will be increasing the budget of that project estimated cost. So to avoid that problem, in the year 2007, Salesforce has introduced a feature called as Visual Force Programming. Salesforce has introduced a feature called as Visual Force Programming. So as part of Visual Force Programming, they have given so many built-in tags. As part of Visual Force, they have given so many built-in tags. We have so many built-in tags are available as part of Visual Force Programming, which are called as Visual Force elements. These are called as elements, and with the help of those elements, we can design our own user interfaces. We can design our own visual appearance controls like text boxes, buttons, labels, checkboxes, text area, drop down controls, checkboxes, radio buttons, everything we can build. So that as part of this Visual Force Programming, they have introduced so many built-in tags. With the help of these built-in tags, we can design our own user interfaces, whatever we need. Whatever the user interfaces that you want, we can design by placing the respective visual appearance controls. But when coming to the Visual Force Programming, there are some drawbacks. Because there are some drawbacks are available. So let me explain what are the various drawbacks that we have in Visual Force Programming and how a Visual Force program will get executes internally, and what is the typical MVC architecture followed by Visual Force, we'll see. And then we'll move forward to that lightning components. So why should we go for lightning instead of using Visual Force? Okay, now. So as part of Visual Force Programming, the typical architecture of Visual Force program execution lifecycle. Let me explain the MVC architecture of Visual Force. Okay, now. Now, let me explain the traditional architecture of MVC. Now, which are followed by Visual Force program. Now, as part of this MVC, we know that MVC stands for what? Model View Controller. Okay, Model View Controller. Model in the sense what? Database. Okay, model in the sense what? Database. That means objects, fields, associations among those objects. Everything will be comes under model part. View in the sense what? User interface. That means presentations like tabs, applications, page layouts, lookup dialogues, search layouts. These are all comes under view. And we have controller. That means business logics. That means classes, methods, okay, functions, procedures, whatever we have implemented. These are comes under the controller part. Now, so how the traditional MVC architecture look like? Okay, we'll see. Now, for example, as part of this traditional MVC architecture, now let me explain. For example, this is the server that we have. I'm having this server. So now we are having our own database. Okay, we are having our own database that is nothing but database.com. So this is the database that we have, where exactly all the Salesforce objects will get resides. So this is the database.com. That means this is the model part. Model where exactly all the Salesforce objects will get resides. It may be standard objects, it may be custom objects, all these things will be getting resides inside this model part. And then we have the controller. Okay, we have the controller part. So this is the controller part, which will be purely built by using Apex program. Controller class, which is purely implemented with the help of Apex program. So now the controller is keep on interacting with the model. Controller is keep on interacting with the model. Whenever it requires some data, it will connect to that model, and it will be collecting the respective data. And then if it requires, it will be pushing some records into the objects also. And then we are having the view. Okay, and then we have the view part. Nothing but the user interface. Okay, this is what we have, user interface, which is having some text boxes, labels, buttons, everything will be available. Like for example, we are having the customer code, customer name, some balance, whatever the balance. Upon inserting the records also, whatever, anything. So we are having that respective user interface controls are available. Now, we are having this user interface, which is having some button controls. Like a save button and the cancel. So this is our view part, nothing but user interface. So generally what will happen in this case, after entering the data inside these text boxes, as soon as once a user click on this save button, then automatically the request will be going to the Salesforce server. Request will go to the Salesforce server. The server is processing the request. It will send the response back to the respective user interface. It will send the response back to the user interface. That means what? The view is connecting to that controller class. The controller is going to be interacting with the database. Database will be having the respective operation, like as it may be insert or update or delete, whatever. Once the operation has been done, then the response will be sending back to the controller. The controller will send the response back to the user interface. This is what the typical MVC architecture that we have in Salesforce as part of Visual Force program. Okay, in Visual Force programming, whenever we are going to be interacting with the database, as soon as once the user click on this save button, the request will send to the Salesforce server. In this Salesforce server, we are having the controller class. Controller class will be receiving the respective input values which we have entered in the text boxes. Based on that input values, it will connect to the respective database. It will perform the operation, and the response will be sending back to the developer. Okay, this is the process will be happening as part of MVC architecture. Okay, now let me explain the flow. Okay, what will happen? Let me explain the flow. In this architecture, what flow will be happening internally? Let me explain. For example, I'm having this user interface. Okay, I'm having a user interface. And then I'm having that Salesforce server. I'm having this as Salesforce server. This is the view by using Visual Force program. Now, for example, I have a text box, customer code, and the customer. I'm placing these two text boxes over. I'm having the control, and then I'm having a button control also. I'm having a button control submit. Okay, now let's see what will happen in this case. In order to load this user interface, okay, in order to load this user interface, as soon as once you click on this, okay, link, or as soon as once you click on the tab, this particular user interface will be getting loaded. How it is loading that? It will make a request. Okay, now the browser will make a request to that Salesforce server. The browser will make a request to the Salesforce server. It will make a request to the Salesforce server to load this user interface. Okay, to load this user interface. Now, what the Salesforce server will do? The server is going to be taking up the request. It will process the request. It will collect that response. The response will be sending back to that user interface. That means to that browser. The response will be sending back to that user interface. That means the browser. The response. This response will be in the form of what? HTML. Okay, response will be in the form of HTML. Always, each and every response will be sending in the form of HTML format. Because we need to represent that result inside that browser. If you want to show some content inside that browser, then always that response will be in the form of HTML format. Now, so initially to load this user interface, as soon as once you click on the tab, or as soon as once you click on that respective link, the request will be making to that Salesforce server. The server will process this request. It will get the response, which will be in the form of HTML format. That HTML format of response is going to be showing this user interface view over. Now, after, so I'm entering some data inside this, okay, customer code and the customer name text box. I'm giving the customer code as C10045, and then I'm giving the customer name as Samram. I have given some data. So once the data has been entered, as soon as once you click on this submit button, immediately one more request will be sending to that Salesforce server. Okay, immediately one more request will be sending to that Salesforce server. Because the user click on submit button. After entering the data inside this customer code and the customer name variable, as soon as once you click on this submit button, immediately a request will be sending to the Salesforce server in the form of HTTP post request. HTTP post. That means always the request will be sending to that server in the form of, okay, HTTP format. Because internally each and every request will be carrying forward by using HTTP protocol. Now I want to send the request to that Salesforce server. Sending the request, posting means what? Sending the request to the server. We are sending some data over. Okay, now, so as soon as once you click on this submit button, immediately a request will be posting to that Salesforce server, which will be in the form of, okay, HTTP post. Okay, now, so as soon as once the data has been received by the Salesforce server, it will process this request. It will insert the data inside this respective object. It will send the response back. Okay, it will send the response back. Now, so it will send the response back, okay, in the form of HTML format, because I need to show that result over here. So it will send the response in the form of HTML format. Okay, now, so now as soon as whenever it is sending this response back, the whole page will be getting refreshed. The complete page will be getting refreshed. Not only that part, the complete page, the whole page will be getting refreshed automatically by default over here. Now, This is a problem. In this case, the whole page will get refreshed. The whole page will be getting refreshed. Now, even though I'm using only some part of that page, even though I'm using a small part of the page also, a small feature also, upon click on the submit button, the whole page will be sending to the Salesforce server. Server will be processing that request. It will send the response back. Whenever the response has been sent back to that respective browser, it will be refreshing that complete page also. The whole page will be getting refreshed automatically here. But in this case, what happened? Every time we are making a request to that Salesforce server. Suppose after entering some more data, once I click on this submit button, the request will send to that Salesforce server again. Second request also will be getting processed. That means second record also will be getting inserted. It will send the response back in the form of HTML. At that time, again, my whole page will be getting refreshed automatically. It will reload that page every time. Okay, it will reload that whole page at a time. This is the problem when coming to that normal Visual Force pages. Okay, when you go to the Visual Force programming, the complete page will be getting reloaded automatically every time. Once you click on the button control, the whole page will be getting reloaded automatically by default. Now, let me show you. For example, let me go to my Salesforce account. So let me go to that Salesforce Classic. Let me go back to that Salesforce Classic. See, as soon as once you click on this particular, my tab, the whole page will be getting refreshed over here. Now, so in this case here, whenever you are performing any operation, the whole page will be getting refreshed automatically by default. Now, for example, so now here I'm in this case. I'm in this particular user interface. I'm going to be creating an account record over here. I'm creating an account record. Okay, I'm creating an account record. So upon creating this account record, I'm giving some details. Ram Kumar. Account number, I'm giving some value. Account site, I'm indicating as banking. And the customer rating, I'm giving as high. And the contact number, I'm giving some value. Now I'm creating a new record here. Now in this meantime, suddenly I got a request that I need to create a meeting record. I need to create a task. Then what we can do? I want to create a task record immediately. I would like to schedule a meeting with the client. So I want to create an event. Then what we can do? We have to cancel this request. Or else we have to go to the home tab. We have to go to the home tab, go to that my task, click on new button, and then we have to create that task. After creating the task record, when you go back to that my customers, will the previously entered data is available? Data will be lost. Because when you make a request, that means when I click on this home tab, then automatically the whole page will be getting refreshed. The previously entered data has been lost. Now, after entering the task record details, when I click on new button, I have entered the data inside this text boxes. When I click on save button, a new task record will be getting created. When I go back to that my customers tab, now the whole page will be getting refreshed. The previous data will be getting lost. That means there is some data losses are. That means the people can't work on the multiple tasks at a time. That means it's not a multitasking. Like it's not a multitasking. Only one user interface we can access at a time. If you want to go to a different user interface, then the previously entered data will be getting lost because the whole page will be getting reloaded again. The whole page will be getting reloaded freshly because of that the previously entered data will be getting lost. So now in this case, every time whenever we are creating a request, now the request will be sending back to that Salesforce server. That means it is keep on making the request to that Salesforce server. A server request will be happening in the background. A server trip will be happening in the background. Because of that, okay, multiple requests will be keep on sending to that Salesforce server. Because of that, it is impacting on the application performance. Now, so this is one of the major problem, okay, as part of this traditional MVC architecture. As part of traditional MVC architecture, this is one of the major problems. Now, let me explain this. When you go to that, when you go to the traditional MVC architecture, we are having this, the client, that means the person, the people who are accessing that Salesforce application, that means the Visual Force page. They're accessing the Visual Force page. Whenever after entering the data, as soon as once you click on submit, the request will be sending to that, okay, Apex program. That means it will send to that controller. The controller is going to be receiving the respective data. Based on that input values, it will connect to the database. That means it will connect to the respective Salesforce objects. It will perform the operation. Then we can get that response back from that, okay, server. So this is what the process will be happening in the traditional, okay, MVC architecture, which will be causing so many server trips, which will be impacting on the application performance, which will be keep on reloading the page again and again and again. Okay, that is the problem in the traditional MVC architecture, which followed by the Visual Force. Okay, so Visual Force is purely supporting the MVC framework, MVC architecture, where we are having the view and the controller and the model. That means database. So these are interacting with each other in order to perform the respective operation inside your application. Okay, now, so as part of this MVC, now let's see, as part of this MVC, the traditional page life cycle is initially the request will be making to that server. Initially, the request will be making to that server. The server will be loading that complete page. Okay, the server will be loading that complete page. The page will be getting loaded first. All the controls are visible. After entering the data inside these controls, as soon as once you click on that submit button, your request will be sending to that server in the form of HTTP post. The complete form, the whole page request will be sending to that server. The server will be taking up that complete page request. It will process it. It will send the response back in the form of HTML, so that based on this HTML, the complete page will be getting reloaded automatically every time. Once you click on that submit button, every time that page will be completely reloaded. It won't reload that, okay, only the part of the page. The complete page will be getting reloaded. So in this case here, every time the page will be keep on reloading. That means it is making some more burden on the Salesforce server. So in this case here, instead of making that each and every page, that means page will be reloading every time for each request, I want to refresh only that particular component. I would like to refresh only that particular component over here. So for that one here, they have introduced an architecture called as SPA architecture. Okay, SPA architecture. SPA architecture means what? Single page application architecture. Single page application architecture. So now, as part of the single page application means what? Instead of making the complete user interface like as a single page, make that entire page like as a various components. We can make that the complete page like as a various components. That means divide that functionality to the various small components. Like, for example, when you go to that lightning experience, you will be having the various components. Now, upon opening a record over here, you can take any record also. As part of this lightning, it is purely built upon SPA architecture. Up to this part, this is one component. This is another component. And this is another component. And this is another component. Different components are available. Now, suppose for example, as part of this SPA architecture, now let's see. I'm going to be creating a new customer record. Now I would like to create a new record. So now upon click on this new record, the user interface will be getting visible. We can enter the data, we can save. Now, for example, I'm making some changes in the record as part of this Anand Kumar record. Upon making the changes, just we can go to the details, we can make the changes. I have click on this edit button. The user interface will be in the editable format. We can make the changes and we can commit the changes back to the database. Now, so in this case, observe this one. Here I would like to make the changes of this rating. Just you can go to that inline editing feature, make the changes. I'm changing the rating value as hot. I'm changing that facts value. Upon changing this value, suddenly I got realized that I forgot to send a task invitation. Okay, I would like to create a task. Simply here, no need to go to that, no need to jump to the another user interface. Here we are having the task option is available. New task. Now we can specify the task information. Create a task, specify the task subject. Now I'm indicating that like as now. Contact the customer. Due date, I'm indicating today's date. Name, I'm indicating the contact. I'm searching for the contact person related to Anand Kumar. I'm going to be giving the status as okay, not started. Click on save. Now tell me here which part has been refreshed over here. The complete page has been refreshed. No, only this particular component has been refreshed. Only this component has been refreshed. But my data is lost over here. No, my data is not lost. Still my data is persistent. My data is available. This complete page is not refreshed. Only this particular component has been refreshed over here. Now here I would like to make the changes. Now make some more changes of this particular record. I'm changing this industry to some like some energy. Now suddenly I got realized that I would like to schedule a meeting. So now I would like to specify that. Log a call. Now we can specify the call also. Now regarding the client call. Client call. Now we can inform to the contact person to whom you want to assign. Now click on save. Now a log a call option has been tracked over here. But still my data is available as it is. My data is not lost. That means instead of refreshing the complete user interface, only this particular part of this component page I would like to refresh. So for that reason, they have introduced an architecture called as SPA architecture, single page application. That means instead of making the complete user interface like as a single page, divide that entire page into the various small components. Okay, divide that whole page into the various small components. Now, as part of this SPA architecture, it's purely based on component-based framework. Component-based. Each and every feature is nothing but a component. Every feature is nothing but a component. So now this is a component here, record detail page. Now it is indicating this is one component. Up to that, okay, navigation bar, it is one component. Activities will be nothing but one component. These are the multiple components we can design, and then we can able to place all these components to design your application. So no need to build the complete user interface by using a single page. We can able to design the multiple small components, and we can able to place all the components to build your own application. Now, so that they have introduced the SPA architecture. Then what will happen as part of this SPA architecture? Okay, now let me explain in this case. So how the traditional MVC has been changed? Okay, let me explain in this case. Now, as part of the single page architecture. Let me explain. Now, single page application architecture. This is also called as MVCC here. Model View Client Side Controller. Okay, now let me explain. In this case here, observe this one. Here we are having the user interface. So this is the user interface that we have. Now, this is the front end part. This is the server part, and this is the view part. Okay, this is the view part. Now that means the presentation or the screen. Now in this case, what these people did is they have prepared the user interface. They have prepared the user interface. This is the view that we have. View, that means that is nothing but which is having some text boxes. Like for example, let me place some text boxes. I'm placing some fields over here. And I'm having a button control. I'm indicating like as the ID of the product and the name of the product. I have this saved. Now, after entering the data inside these text boxes, when the user click on save button, request will not be going to that Salesforce server directly. Request will not be going to that Salesforce server directly. So in this particular view, they are having one more controller is available. They have introduced one more controller over. Okay, one more controller. This is called as a client side. That means this is the client, this is the server. At the client side, they have introduced one more server. Client side controller. This client side controller has been purely built upon by using JavaScript. Okay, it's a JavaScript controller. Okay, it's a JavaScript controller. After entering the data, as soon as once you click on this save button, as soon as once you click on the save button, request will not be going to that Salesforce server directly. The request will go to that client side controller. Inside that client side, we are having a separate controller is available. That means two controllers are available over. That's what we have used C and the C, MVCC. That means client side controller and server side controller. You will be having the client side controller. Now this client side controller will be having its own database. That means that database is also purely nothing but JavaScript. Those are also called as helper components. That is also called as helper components. And then most of the work will be performing inside the client side controller. So now after entering the data, as soon as once you click on this, okay, the button control, the request will go to the client side controller. The client side controller is purely built upon JavaScript. Now the JavaScript internally calling this, okay, Apex controller classes. Now the client side controller will be internally calling that Salesforce server. Okay, client side controller will be internally calling that Salesforce server. That means, okay, controller classes. That means what? Whenever if you want to perform any operation, if it requests to connect to the database, then only the client side controller will be invoking the Apex classes to connect to the database. Suppose if you want to do any operations inside the application level, without connecting to the database, if you want to do any operation, those operations will be done inside the client side controller itself. That means instead of connecting to the database every time, most of the operations it can do inside that client side itself. That means in the browser side itself, it will be performing that operation with the help of client side controller. And once the operations has been done, if it requires to connect to the database, then only it will initiate to that, okay, Apex classes. That means Apex classes can be called with the help of JavaScript. Through JavaScript, we can invoke the Apex classes. so that we can connect to the respective database and we can perform the database operation like as DML operations, whatever you want. Apart from the DML operations, if you want to do any other processing, then it won't send the request to that Salesforce server. It is going to be performing those operations inside the client side itself. It will perform the operation inside the client side, which will be maintaining the client side database that is called as client side cache. It will maintain the cache memory. Inside the cache memory, it will be holding that the values for some time. Whenever if you need that values, it will be collecting from the cache itself directly. So without connecting to that Salesforce server again, so that we can reduce the number of server trips. We can reduce the burden on the Salesforce server. We can improve the application performance also. So for that reason, as part of this single page architecture applications, they have introduced the client-side controller. We have two controllers, client-side controller, which will be purely built by using JavaScript. Second one, server-side controller, which will be implemented with the help of Apex program. Okay, now observe this one here, both the architectures. It may be the normal MVC architecture. It may be the single page architecture applications also. Now tell me, in this case, do we have any changes in the server side here? Here also we have the controller database. Now, here also we are having this controller database is available. Where we have the changes? We have the changes in the client level. That means user interface level. Now, as part of this Visual-Force programming, that is traditional MVC architecture, we are having this user interface. But here we are having, along with that user interface controls, we have a controller also, which is called as client-side controller. In the client side only, we make some changes. That means in the user interface level, we are making some changes, not at the database level. Your Apex programming will be same, no change at all. No changes in the Apex programming, no changes in the classes, databases, nothing. Just the changes are came into that user interface level. Only at the front end level, we have made some changes because we would like to make that application performance faster. Instead of reloading the complete page again and again and again, so we are going to be dividing this whole user interface to the various small components. We are dividing the whole user interface into the small components. Only that respective component will be getting refreshed. Instead of reloading the complete page, we can reload only that particular component so that we can improve the application performance as well. So for that reason, only at the user interface level, we have to make some changes. Now, so in this case, what happened? As part of this user interface, till now, we are using this Visual-Force tags. To design this user interface, we are using Visual-Force tags, but now we are going to be using some Lightning tags, and along with we are using JavaScript additional. That's it. Your Apex programming will be same, no change at all. Okay, your database will be same, nothing but same objects, same fields or same relationships, no change at all, but only the change is in the user interface level. So previously we are using Visual-Force tags. We have so many Visual-Force tags are available, but now instead of using the Visual-Force tags, we can use Lightning component tags. We can use that Lightning tags so that we can build our own component. And then along with that, to perform the operations at the client side, we are writing some client side controllers also with the help of JavaScript. So that we need the help of this JavaScript program. We should be aware of JavaScript programming also. And then to make this component a bit look like attractive, we are using the help of stylings. That means here we can go with that style sheets, CSS. With the help of this CSS, we can able to provide some attractive look and feel for your user interface by using CSS. So as part of this client-side controller, we are using the JavaScript, and then to apply that attractive look and feel for your user interface, we are using CSS. Okay, now let's see. As part of this Lightning components, mainly two things are required. Simply, we should be aware of JavaScript, CSS. That's it. If we know these two, then we can build that lightning components also. Apex programming will be same, no change at all. Same classes, same SO kibble, same SOSL, same database statements, everything will be same. Triggers, everything, batch programming, schedule programming, everything will be same. No changes at all at the database. But only changes will be at user interface level, where previously we have used Visual Force tags, now we have to use that Lightning tags along with CSS and JavaScript. These are the two things we should be aware of in order to implement this Lightning components. Now, let's see. Observe this one. As part of this MVC architecture here, as part of the single page application architecture. So when you go to this SPA architecture, we are having this view, which is the user interface, which can be built by using that Lightning components. That means Lightning tags. We are going to be designing this user interface, and then inside that client side itself, we are having that controller. Okay, there is a client side controller is available. So we have the client side controller is available. We have this client side controller. With the help of this client side controller, we can able to implement the functionalities or the operations which you want to do at the user interface level. We can perform all those operations by using client side controller, which can be done with the help of JavaScript. And then once operations has been done, if it requires to connect to the database, then only it will be interacting with the Apex classes. Okay, it will invoke your Apex programming code. That means it will invoking your Apex methods. It may be procedure, it may be function, whatever. It will invoke your Apex class, and now your Apex class will be connecting to the database. In both the cases, Apex classes are connecting to the database only. Here also the same, here also the same. But here we are having user interface, but in this user interface level, we are having Lightning tags and along with that client side controllers. So one additional component is available as part of this Lightning MVC architecture. So as part of Lightning, we are having the two controllers are available: client side controller, server side controller. Client side controller should be implemented with the help of JavaScript. Server side controller should be implemented with the help of Apex programming. Okay. Now the user interface will be building with the help of Lightning tags. Instead of using Visual Force tags, we are using this Lightning tags. Okay. Now let's see. Now let's see this architecture over here. What will happen internally in the background? So when you go to this SPA architecture lifecycle, when you go to the SPA architecture lifecycle, what will happen in the background here? Now let's see. We have the client, we have a server. Okay, we have a client, we have a server. In order to load this user interface, we are going to be making that initial request. As soon as once you click on this tab or the link, now the request will be making to the Salesforce server, and then it will send the response back, so that complete user interface will be getting loaded for them. The complete user interface will be getting loaded. So now as soon as once you click on this submit button, okay, as soon as once you click on this submit button, from next time onwards, now it won't send that HTTP post to that server. It will be sending a AJAX call. It will send an AJAX call, nothing but asynchronous JavaScript and etc. An asynchronous call will be sending to that server. Asynchronous call means what? Automatic. Instead of doing it manually, automatically a request will be sending to that Salesforce server. The server will be processing this respective request. It will be sending the response back. But the response will not be in the form of HTML. Response will be in the form of JSON format. Okay, response will be in the form of JSON format. JSON means what? JavaScript object notation. JSON means JavaScript object notation. The complete functionality, the complete result will be available in the form of a JSON format only here, not in the form of HTML. Because if it is sending in the form of HTML, the complete page will be getting refreshed. So that I don't want to reload the complete page. I want to reload only this particular component. Here I would like to show the message success. Nothing but my operation has been done. Instead of reloading the complete page, only this component I would like to refresh. This is the component 1. This is the component 2. After submitting the data from the component 1, an AJAX call will be making to that server. The server will process this request. It will send the response to that client in the form of a JSON format, which will be reloading only that second component. Instead of refreshing the complete page, only that respective components will be getting reloaded. So that instead of refreshing that whole page, I want to refresh only that particular component here, so that other parts of the page should not be getting affected. Other parts of the page should not be getting affected over. That's what here in this case, when you observe this one, as of now we have discussed. When you go to our Salesforce application also, whenever we are going to be accessing this application, now whenever I'm creating a task, only that particular component will be getting refreshed. It is not impacting on the other parts of our page, because it has implemented purely on SPA architecture. Internally, it is going to be using that asynchronous calls. AJAX calls will be sending to that Salesforce server. It will process that request. It will send only the response back to that respective component. Only that particular component will be getting refreshed instead of reloading the complete page. Okay, this is the typical differences in the architecture level of Visualforce and the Lightning components. When coming to that Visualforce is purely supporting the traditional MVC. When coming to that Lightning, it is purely supporting the the MVCC, nothing but client-side controllers, which is purely supporting the SPA architecture, which is purely built upon component-based framework. Okay, which is purely built upon component-based framework. Okay, now let's see. So as part of this Visualforce and the Lightning, now let's see. So we have the differences. When coming to the user interface level only, we are making the changes, not in the controller level, not in the database level. So we need to talk about only the user interface related components, like as Visualforce and the Lightning components. So as part of this Visualforce, it is a monolithic. Monolithic in the sense what? It will be a single page, completely a single page. Every time, whenever you are performing the operation, the whole page will be getting reloaded. The complete page will be getting refreshed. So once you click on any button control, then if you want to go back to the another page, then the current data will be getting lost. This is the problem when coming to that Visualforce, which is purely having that major issues. Now, so now you can raise a question, sir. As part of this Lightning, we are going to building in the form of the small components. Then can't we build those components by using Visualforce? Yes. Because when you go to the Visualforce programming, we can build our own Visualforce components also. We can design our own Visualforce components also that we can do. But how many components can you build? Everything we have to implement manually by our own. User interface level, look and feel we have to use. Everything we have to implement manually, so that it will be increasing the huge lines of code. So that to avoid those problems, instead of using this Visualforce, we can go with that Lightning component framework. Now, as part of this Lightning component, the framework enforces developers to break the application into the components. That means instead of making that whole user interface as a single page, divide that functionality to the various small components, so that we can build each component separately, and then we can assemble all the components to make an application. So that we are going to be building the components here. That's what we have, the Lightning components. Now, next one, building that SPA applications without using framework like Angular, React, and then various other frameworks are available. That means what? When you go to the Angular and then React.js, these are purely the scripting libraries which are purely supporting like as the SPA architecture. AngularJS is purely built upon SPA architecture. So in this case, if you want to build this kind of component-based framework, we can design your own Visualforce components also. But we have to incorporate this kind of AngularJS and the React.js into your Visualforce. That means we have to use these libraries upon building your own Visualforce component in order to make only that particular component to be get refreshed. But in this case, if you're using this Angular JS and the React JS, we have to learn these scripting languages separately first. Then only we can able to build our own components, and we can make our component to be get reloaded, okay, upon performing the operations. Instead of reloading the whole page, we can reload only that Visual Force component with the help of this Angular JS and the React JS also. Okay, but which will be a tedious job. We have to write some huge lines of code which requires more technical skills. But when coming to the Salesforce is very, very popular because of less coding. Salesforce is very, very popular because of less coding, so that Salesforce wants to provide the facility to the developers and the administrators that those people can able to design the user interfaces with less coding. Without having much technical skills, without having programming background, the people can able to design their own user interfaces also just with the help of some mouse clicks. So that they have introduced this as SPA architecture. Building SPA is a lot easier. That means it is very easy to build the single page applications over, because it is purely built upon event-driven programming. Okay, it is purely built upon event-driven programming, because it is purely supporting like that. Okay, pub sub model. Pub sub model in the sense publisher subscriber model. Publisher and the subscriber model. Whenever we are going to publishing some data, whenever you are inserting some data, immediately other people can able to see the changes, whatever we have made. Immediately we can see the changes, whatever we have made. Other people can able to see the latest changes also. Okay, once you're publishing, once you are inserting the record, immediately other people can see the latest changes as well. That facility is available. Okay, that is a major advantage that we have in Lightning components. Okay, now, so as part of this Visual Force and the Lightning, we are having few differences only in the user interface level. And the controller part and the database part will be same exactly as it is. But when coming to the front-end level, we have so many changes, because we need to include some client-side controllers in order to perform certain operations at the user interface level only. That means within the browser level only. So that we are incorporating the JavaScript libraries in order to write some piece of code to perform the operations in our user interface level itself. Now, so now let's see. As part of this Lightning, what are the various features are available as part of this Lightning program? Basically, as part of this Lightning, we are having the various parts are available. These are called as various features offered by Salesforce as part of Lightning. Now, the first one, Lightning Experience. And then we have Lightning Component Framework. And then we have LDS, this is also called as SLDS, Lightning Design System. And then we have Lightning App Builder. And then we have Lightning Connect. And then we are having some process automation tools also. So that means Salesforce made a lot of changes as part of Lightning. They have introduced so many features as part of Lightning because Salesforce wants to promote this Lightning over. Because Lightning experience can be accessible by using the browser as well as mobile apps also. It's a mobile friendly interface. We can access this Lightning application from your normal browsers also, and we can access from the mobile devices also, like as the mobile device, a smartphone, or the tabs. Okay, we can able to access this Lightning user interface as well. Now, let's see in this case. As part of this Lightning, we are having the various of features are available, like Lightning Experience. Lightning Experience is nothing but it's purely a graphical user interface to design the user interfaces. To design the user interfaces, we are going to be using this Lightning Experience, which is used to design the attractive and the rich look and feel user interfaces. Now, so second one, Lightning Components, Lightning Component Framework. So this is the place where exactly we have to make some changes. Whatever the changes are required to build your application, this is the place where we need to add some changes. Now, let's see. Whenever if you want to build your own component, then we are using the help of the JavaScript libraries. By using this JavaScript libraries, we can able to implement our own component framework. which can be done with the help of either ARA or by using LWC also. This is the place where we are going to be using that, okay, framework components. So now, as part of this Lightning, we are mainly concentrating on the framework part here. Lightning component framework. Here we are going to be introducing that ARA and the LWC components. We can use either ARA framework also, or we can use the Salesforce own framework, that is LWC, Lightning Web Components. So ARA is a third party. It's a third party framework, okay, which has been adopted by Salesforce in the year 2014. And from that, they have introduced that ARA components, that is introduced as part of Salesforce Lightning development. As part of Salesforce Lightning development, they have introduced this ARA components here in 2014. So 2014 to 2018, they have implemented so many features as part of this ARA components. That means ARA is an open source framework. It's an open source framework where we don't have much security features. We don't have much enhancements. But right now it's a free. So in this case, suppose for example, in future, if the ARA framework is paid, that means if those people are charging some amount to utilize ARA, then the Salesforce applications will be getting affected. That's what here Salesforce has introduced their own proprietary framework that is called as LWC in 2018. In 2018, Salesforce has introduced Lightning Web Components, which is an extension for ARA, That means whenever we are building your own components, we can use either ARA or LWC, nothing but Lightning Web Components. Because when you go to the ARA components, we have to implement so much coding. We have to implement so much coding by using the various third-party scripting libraries, like as the jQuery, JavaScript, Angular, Bootstrap. We have to use the various scripting libraries in order to write some code, in order to design the user interfaces. To apply your own colors, to apply your own styling, we have to use CSS additionally. But when coming to the LWC, we no need to do all these things. For that one, Salesforce has introduced a feature called as Lightning Design System. Salesforce has introduced Lightning Design System, that is also called as LDS or SLDS. Salesforce Lightning Design System. In this Salesforce Lightning Design System, we are having so many components are available inbuilt. Styles are available inbuilt. Images, pictures, everything is available inbuilt as part of this Lightning Design System. Just we have to use that respective component name or the style name. We can use it directly. We can search for the styles also directly. For that one, simply we can go to that Lightning Design System. Once you search for that, inside that Google Lightning Design System, we can go to that Lightning Design System website here, which has been introduced by Salesforce, which is providing so many inbuilt components are available, Icons are available by default. Utility icons are available. Document type icons are available. Standard and custom icons are available. Action related icons are available. Everything is available over here. These are the icons. These are the various icons have been given by Salesforce. Just we have to use these icons directly. We no need to upload these icons into your local system. We no need to incorporate into your Salesforce organization. Everything is available inbuilt. All the icons and the colors also, everything is available over. Tools, the resources, various articles, and the downloads information, and along with that, whatever the colors and the borders that you want, everything. Alignment related designs, everything will be given by Salesforce automatically by default. And along with that, it is providing so many components also. Border related. If you want to apply any borders, it will be giving the border directly over. And then it is indicating that borders also. All the border styles are ready-madely available. And then if you want to use that box type, then we can see this is the box over here. This is the picture. And along with that, we can see the respective code. Description related list. If you want to add any descriptions over, then we can use this particular tags. And then grid related. grid related components, whatever you want. So now just you can able to use that ready-made code which is given by Salesforce by default. The complete code has been given by Salesforce, so that they have given so many styles to you by default today. Depends upon your requirement. If you want to apply any themes, then you can apply the themes also over. Whatever the theme that you want, we can able to apply. Now we can able to apply the text fonts also. Whatever the fonts that you want, styles that you want, everything we can able to apply just by using from Lightning Design System. We know need to incorporate all these things. We no need to implement all these things. These are ready-madely available as part of Lightning Design System. So with the help of this LDS, we can able to use these features and we can build your application very fast. We can build your own component very fastly as well, so that we can implement the components with less coding. Most of the functionalities we can able to incorporate from the web stack. From the web standards, we can incorporate most of the functionalities so that we can design the components very easily with less coding. When compared with that ARA, LWC providing very less coding here, because most of the functionality will be done by the web server engine itself. Okay. Now, as part of this Lightning components, here we are having two types of components are available. First one ARA and then second one LWC. Basically, Salesforce has introduced this ARA component framework, which it's a third-party framework, which has been introduced by Salesforce in the year 2014. And then from there onwards till 2018, they're using this ARA framework in order to build the various applications, which is purely built upon ARA programming. It's an open source framework. Now, in order to give some lot of enhancements, Salesforce has introduced LWC, Lightning Web Components, which is a own framework of Salesforce, where most of the features are inbuilt available. Ready-made components are available. With the help of those components, we can design our own applications very fast. We can make that components reusable. Okay, we can make that components reusable also. Because that facility is available. Now, so as part of this Lightning components, the various benefits. Whenever I'm using this Lightning components are providing the better user experience. That means the look and feel wise, it is providing attractive look and feel. So whatever the color, whatever the font, whatever the style, whatever the image that you want, everything we can customize. That facility is available. But when you go to the standard, okay, Visual Force page, we can't do all these things. In the standard classic user interfaces, we can't make any changes. But in Lightning, we can make the changes also. For the standard applications, we can apply your own images, and we can able to make some colors also. We can design your own pages also, whatever you want. And then it offers high assurance security. Lightning is providing more security for your component and for your data by introducing a feature called as Lightning Data Services, Lightning Locker Services. With the help of this locker services, we can able to make that data. That means we can make the data protected. We can lock that component so that other people can't misutilize your data, other people can't access your components also. And then it is a mobile-friendly software. That means whatever the framework that we have, like as LWC and the ARA, these are purely supporting the mobile devices also. We can run these applications on iOS and the Android devices also. And then it is providing the customer communities also along with Tableau CRM. Tableau CRM, in the sense, it is called as Einstein Analytics. As part of Classic, we can't access that Einstein Analytics. There is no such facilities. But in Lightning, we can interact with the Tableau CRM also, that is called as Einstein Analytics. With the help of this Einstein Analytics, we can able to generate some effective reportings also by connecting the data from the multiple data sources. It's a business intelligence tool, okay, which we have from Salesforce, but it's a paid. It's not free. It's a paid, but we can access this Tableau CRM also from Lightning Experience, not from Classic. Okay. Now, so now as part of this Lightning pages, what are the components that we are building by using Lightning framework, where we can use these components? Lightning components we can use inside your tabs also. Like during the tabs creation, I told you that 5 types of tabs are available over there in Salesforce. Like as custom object tabs, web tabs, Visual Force tabs, Lightning page tabs, Lightning component tabs. So whatever the Lightning component that we are going to build, that Lightning component we can use inside your tabs also, so that we can access in Lightning component tabs. We can use those components inside your Lightning applications also wherever you want. We can incorporate. Depends upon your requirement. We can incorporate those components into your Lightning applications also. And we can incorporate those components into your record pages also. That means whatever the records that we have, in order to see the record detail page, in this record detail page also we can able to incorporate these components as well. In this detail page also we can able to incorporate those components as well here. That facility is available based on your application requirement. And we can add those Lightning components like as the quick actions, like here we have this a new contact. Like that I would like to create a component. That component I would like to show it over here, like as a quick action, like as like a new customer. I would like to show that user interface control. Once I click on this quick action, automatically my component has to be get visible, which will be asking you to provide some data, and then we can create that records as well. We can add it like as the quick actions also. And then we can use that Lightning components inside the Visual Force pages as well. Inside the Visual Force page also we can use, and along with that we can use this Lightning components in other platforms also, like as in we can able to access these components inside SAP also, or it may be in other frameworks also, other technologies also we can use with the help of a feature called as Lightning Out. So Lightning Out is a new feature given by Salesforce, where with the help of this feature we can able to use our Lightning components in some other technologies also, in other platforms also we can able to access. That facility is available with the help of this Lightning components. These are the various places that we can use as part of this Lightning framework. So in order to make these components to be get reusable, we are going to be building the whole functionality like as in the form of small components. Each component we can build, and then we can reuse that component whenever you want and wherever you want inside your application, inside your record, inside your Visual Force also, inside your other platforms also we can reuse that. That facility is available as part of this Lightning components. So as part of this Lightning components, we are going to be discussing about the two frameworks. First one is ARA and the second one is LWC. We are going to discuss about both ARA and LWC. So initially we'll be starting with ARA components, and then as part of this ARA components we'll see the history of ARA components and the various tags that we have, and how can we prepare our own applications, Lightning components, how to pass the parameters, how to add some button controls, how to invoke some actions, how to apply the styles, how to invoke some database operations. Everything we'll see by using this ARA components, and then we'll move forward to that LWC. During that LWC, we are going to discuss about JavaScript and then CSS again, and then we'll see the various components of LWC inbuilt components, and along with that, how can we build our own Lightning component by using LWC framework, how to use that LWC component inside our ARA, and then how to use ARA components into that our LWC components also will see. That means how can we make that components can be interoperable, how the components can communicate with each other. We'll see practically ARA to LWC, LWC to ARA also. Both the components can communicate with each other. How can we implement? We'll see all these functionalities as part of this course. So as part of this course, the course will be having the duration of 2 months. The start date is 22nd of November. The timings will be evening at 4:30 p.m. IST. to 6 p.m. IST, daily to 1.5 hours. You will be having the sessions from Monday to Friday. We are having the sessions from Monday to Friday. Okay, weekly 5 days we are having the session. Daily 1.5 hours. Monday to Friday, 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. IST. We'll be having this lightning components. Okay, sessions. It will be completely the 2 months time. Okay. Now, so this is the overall idea on the Visual Force framework and the lightning components. The difference between Visual Force and the lightning component framework. Okay. Now, thank you.